The idea for this project came from my background in studying languages and subtitling, and my passion for exploring how captions could be done more creatively. I knew that filmmakers craft sound very intentionally in their films to make the audience feel a certain way. Like when you feel suspense, you get goosebumps and your heart races because you don't know what's going to happen. In those suspenseful moments, I was interested in whether captions that describe sound, like ominous music, were making deaf audiences feel everything that the filmmaker intended. Are they experiencing suspense equally to hearing audiences?
When it comes to subtitles, quite often the conversation is around the quantity of them or, whether they're even available at all. But what we were really interested in was the quality. So, are the words that are being used in subtitles easy to understand? Bearing in mind that for deaf BSL users, English will often be an additional language. So, are they actually making sense?
I think generally speaking, the quality of subtitles now is really inconsistent. And it can really affect your enjoyment of watching a film or a TV show. What I've noticed is that if you watch something that's streamed on Amazon or Netflix or Disney, those type of platforms, you feel like often they've just done the basics, the bare minimum to provide access.
I do find that there's kind of more of a need for it a lot, especially as streaming platforms have kicked off and we're getting more content from different countries. More audiences have more access to more programs than ever, so there's kind of a need to make subtitles as accessible as possible.
When you have a song on a soundtrack, they often won't subtitle the lyrics of the song. I can hear that there are some lyrics, but the subtitles will just say the name of the song, or even worse, it will just say music playing. What? Well, what kind of music? What's the song? Because I know that the director has chosen a specific song for that scene, and I want to know what that song is. I want the same level of access as my hearing counterparts.
With this in mind, we found some commercially viable opportunities to improve the accessibility of films and TV. Designing captions collaboratively and embedding accessibility throughout the filmmaking process and not as an afterthought. Exploring more creative uses of captions and creative ways to visualize audio. Testing captions with deaf audiences before a film's release. More personalization options of captions to suit people's preferences. Offering more frequent caption viewings at the cinema. Our final recommendation is around investment and how more budget allocation is needed for things like captioning and accessibility in film. And the film industry might be thinking well, what do we gain from this? But we can see examples of where this has really paid off already with shows like Reunion, where accessibility was baked all the way through. And you can see the impact it's having on loads of different audiences and the critical acclaim that it's receiving. But none of that would have been possible if the BBC hadn't given that investment to the film to allow for all these accessibility experts and consultants to be embedded within the film department and make sure that they could create this amazing piece.
When I read the 6 recommendations that have been made, I was nodding my head to each and every one of them. They all make sense, they all feel achievable, and they all result in improving the visual experience for deaf people using subtitles, and I see no reason why they can't be done.
My team, we're working in the final stages of editing and quality control. We are always having to remind us of who we're doing it for. In terms of the feedback loop, often we're not finding out whether things are working, and that disconnect seems to me to be a problem.
That they're so normalised now with the amount of digital exposure we've got. They're so normalised on Snapchat and Instagram and YouTube and the whole Meta suite and TikTok. Automatic captions are everywhere. LinkedIn, there are captions everywhere. It wouldn't make a difference if they were on screen at the cinema when everybody else is watching it.
For me, comes back to that attitude of good enough, which translates to bare minimum. It's a box ticked.
I definitely feel like I'm missing out on part of the cinema-going experience. I've never sat in a full crowded cinema watching a film as a shared experience. It's usually just me with my children sat watching a film in an empty cinema on our own. I definitely think there needs to be more choice, more places to watch subtitled films at times that are convenient for us to go, and we need more screenings.
The one quote that really stuck with me and the research team from this project was, "I don't feel like I'm equal." So what we're talking about here isn't just about improving film and TV experiences for deaf audiences. It's about actually making deaf people feel valued and feel like they belong in society more broadly.
So I absolutely love the idea that a deaf audience could kind of pre-screen a film and let you know, yeah, actually this is really good. Like we've got the general gist. It's really well done. Maybe they could watch it with captions, and when they come out, they have a discussion group, a focus group with the film people saying, what did you get from the film? I think it's important to keep them in the loop.
So we know it's doable, and we're really just trying to stimulate a broader conversation because we genuinely do believe that these recommendations could have a huge impact.
I wonder how much it comes down to just we have been doing this a certain way for however long, although there might be a better way of doing it that sits, just adjacent to it. We don't know what that looks like, and we won't know whether it works or works better until we give it a go.
There's a lot more that can be done. It's just whether certain clients or companies are willing to kind of spend the money and put the effort, make that investment really.
So I wondered if there was a way to create a standardised code of practice for subtitling, something to which everybody had to adhere. A set of rules which dictate colour coding and which audio aspects should be subtitled and how. I think it would be so useful for deaf audiences because then they would feel like they're getting the same level of service across all the channels, all the streaming providers, all the broadcasters. It would then feel so much more consistent. Currently, it can almost feel like you're playing a lucky dip. You pop your hand in, you hope you're going to get a good one, and then you go, oh no, got a rubbish one. So I think having a standardised code of practice for subtitling would be brilliant.
Giving accessibility more attention will result in audiences being able to experience films in a more meaningful way. It will increase film profits and, importantly, reduce the inequalities that deaf communities are experiencing every day when watching film and TV.
So let's get on with it.